Hello friends, my name is Isabella. Today we are recapping The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind. This movie is based on true story. So let's start the video. The movie opens up in a small Malawian village named Kasungu, where a group of farmers are harvesting corn. At the same time, children can be seen playing in the fields. Suddenly, one of the farmers, John, feels a sharp pain in his chest and collapses to the ground. The scene then shifts to John's funeral, where the priest mentions that John will be remembered for a long time because of his deeds that helped a lot of people in society. John's brother Trywell and his son Jeremiah can be seen mourning his untimely death. Trywell is a father of 3 children, who lives in a small house and is heavily dependent on agriculture. His son William is intelligent in his studies and also has an interest in electronic devices. He likes to repair old radios and other electronics to earn a decent amount of money for the family. On the other hand, Trywell's daughter is waiting for her family to send her to a university. The whole family depends on good weather and the production of crops to fulfill their needs and to live their lives. One morning, Trywell's wife Agnes approaches Trywell and asks him to put William's new school dress on his bed after a bath. When William notices his dress, he becomes delighted and starts running around in joy. Later, Trywell suggests William be a good boy in school and learn great things. Soon he leaves for school and meets his friend Gilbert on the way. On the other hand, William's sister Annie and Agnes go to a local mill to get their maize grinded. Agnes tells Annie that she too can get a job and support her family after she completes university. Later, when the mother-daughter duo is returning home from the mill, a well-suited man rides his bicycle past them and he looks at the man and smiles at him. In the next scene, the man Mike Kachagunda arrives at William's school and turns out that he's a teacher there. Meanwhile, the principal gathers all the students in an assembly and informs them that those who have not paid the school fee will not be able to use their library cards. Later, after the classes are over, William visits Kachagunda and hands him a letter from his sister who wants Kachagunda to help her with her higher studies. At night, William tries his best to study for the test happening tomorrow, but since they have no electricity, he's forced to go to sleep. The next day, after receiving the test papers, William talks with Gilbert and tells him that they can get better marks. Both of them visit a nearby junkyard and search for something that can help them study at night. Following this, Gilbert and William go to Gilbert's house where people have gathered for a special meeting. Gilbert's father, the chief of the village Wimby, is talking with some representatives of a wood-selling company who are asking the villagers to sell their trees to them. Wimby and Trywell refuse the offer and other villagers also support their decision. Out of nowhere, Jeremiah stands up and makes a deal with the representatives. Agreeing to sell his trees, Trywell and others try their best to stop him, but he does not listen and walks away from there. Following Jeremiah, Trywell arrives at his house and suggests that he change his decision of selling his trees. Trywell also mentions that Jeremiah should stop gambling and should save some money for the future. However, Jeremiah replies that with the rain pouring at a greater rate and the possibility of flood, everyone is gambling in the village one way or the other. He insists that he just wants to get the money and leave the village as soon as possible. In the next scene, William and Gilbert go to their friend's house and listen to a live football match on the radio. Suddenly, in the middle of the match, the radio stops and everyone present there looks at William, hoping that he can fix the device. Wasting no time, William runs to his house and finds his parents discussing the money that they've saved for the future. William asks his father about when he's going to pay the school fee, and the latter replies that he will do so once they harvest the crops and sell them in the market. After this, William grabs the batteries from his father's radio and runs back to his friends. Later at night, when Gilbert and William are returning to their homes, they witness Annie kissing their school teacher Kachagunda. The next day, while they're searching for some useful items in the junkyard, Gilbert suggests William take revenge on Kachagunda and break his bicycle so that he can no longer meet with Annie. William agrees to the idea, but as he approaches Kachagunda's bicycle, he's fascinated by the torchlight present on it. When he rotates the pedal of the bicycle, the torch lights up and William gets very much intrigued by this. Meanwhile, with a heavy downpour, the probability of a flood in the village starts increasing day by day. William also gets suspended from school as his father hasn't paid the school fee. Realizing that the village needs some government help, Trywell takes William to the market to meet his old friend Daniel, who has some connections with the government. However, instead of offering help, Daniel suggests Trywell be prepared for the drought and famine that is soon going to hit his village. The next day, despite being suspended, William enters the school. After the classes are over, William approaches Kachagunda and asks him about how his bicycle is able to light the torch on its own. Kachagunda explains that it's possible because of the dynamo attached to it, which converts the kinetic energy into electrical energy. William further inquires about how he can build a dynamo. However, Kachagunda doesn't have enough information about it, so he suggests William visit the library and gather knowledge from different books. When William mentions that he doesn't have permission to visit the library and also knows about her sister having an affair with him, Kachagunda agrees to help him. He then brings William to the library and informs the library teacher that he and William are working on a project. In this way, William gets to read all the books without any library card. In the next scene, a program is held for the arrival of the president of the country and the villagers cheer for him. During the program, the chief Wimby mentions their ongoing problems and asks the president to put some effort into solving them. Hearing this, the president's security guard snatched Wimby from the stage and beat him badly as punishment for speaking against the president. With days passing by, the time for harvest season arrives, but sadly there is no good production of crops this time. Trywell and his family are well aware that the food will not be enough and that they should rely on their savings to add salt to their misery. The government increases the price of food items, causing Trywell and some other villagers to protest against the government. On the other hand, William continues sneaking to school and learning about the wind and electrical energy from different books. Unfortunately, when the principal enters the class, he spots William and sends him away. Later that day, 2 government trucks arrive at the village loaded with food items. Agnes immediately hands all of her savings to William and asks him to go and bring as much grains as he can. With Trywell involved in the protests and William trying to get some food, a group of evil men enter Trywell's house and steal all of their remaining food supplies. Meanwhile, William somehow manages to enter the warehouse where the government officials are selling the little food items they have. With a large number of people angrily protesting outside, William requests the workers to help him escape from a narrow opening so that he doesn't get robbed. Soon William reaches home and hands over the grains to his mother. The whole family gathers around and after analyzing the situation, Trywell tells his family that they'll have to eat only 1 time a day. Hearing this, Agnes becomes angry and walks out of the room. William visits his sister at night and requests her to ask for the dynamo from Kasungu. He mentions that he knows about their relationship and will tell no one about it. He also states that if he gets the dynamo, he can easily build a wind turbine and pump water from underground. The next day, when William returns home after collecting some firewood, he finds his parents wandering outside the house. Agnes is holding a letter from Annie which states that she's eloped with Kasungu. To his surprise, William enters Annie's room and finds the dynamo resting on the table. Trying to find Annie, Trywell and the whole family visit the school and ask the principal about Kasungu. Sadly, the principal mentions that he has information about him and also apologizes to the family for his immoral actions. At the same time, William requests the principal to let him use the library so that he can read books and build windmill to help his people. This time the principal agrees. Following this, William grabs some books containing ideas about electricity generation and reads them. In the next scene, William's friends agree to help him and the group begins their experiment. They successfully build a small-scale windmill and also run a radio with the help of electricity produced by it. After the success, William decides to build a bigger windmill so that he can generate electricity and run a water pump which can irrigate the dry fields. The group then visits the junkyard and searches for items that will help them achieve their target. On the other hand, William approaches Trywell in the field and asks him to provide him with his bicycle so that he can use its different parts to prepare the windmill. Hearing this, Trywell gets angry and scolds William for visualizing impossible dreams. He rather reprimands him to assist him. In the next scene, William can be seen working in the field with his father despite knowing that without water their hard work will be in vain. Later he visits his friends and gets surprised to find that they're all packing their belongings to leave the village. Fortunately, he manages to convince them to stay. He then asks their help to persuade his father to hand over his bicycle. Moments later, the group arrives outside Trywell's house and requests him to let them use the bicycle. Unfortunately, even this time Trywell gets angry and chases them away. After some time, Agnes talks with Trywell and asks him to let William do what he believes in. She mentions that she's lost a lot of things in her life and does not want to lose William. Realizing his mistake, Trywell rides his bicycle and approaches William. He apologizes to his son for not being able to provide even the basic needs and eventually agrees to give up his bicycle. Following this, the father-son duo visits a nearby cycle repair shop and gets the bicycle dissected as required. After acquiring all the machinery, William starts building the windmill with the help of his father and some villagers. Soon they raise the windmill blades to the top of the tower and after a while the wind starts rotating it. William then mentions that they need to be patient as the battery needs to be charged, and behold, the battery comes to life and the pump starts working. This sends the villagers into a state of frenzy and they all thank William for his genius invention. The scene then fast-forwards by a week where new crops can be seen germinating in the wet fields and the villagers returning to their normal lives. William can be seen sitting in front of his house looking at the windmill. He informs his parents that the principal wants him to meet with some National Student Organization representatives. The movie ends with William climbing the windmill tower and observing his green village. Thanks for watching the video and I will see you later with another recap.